How old are you? Mama wants to say young so bad. Yay!
On the evening of July 11, 2025, a 911 call broke the calm of a summer night in Tunica County, Mississippi. The voice on the other end was panicked, breathless, and the words they managed to get out described a scene no one ever wants to imagine. A woman had been critically injured. 2 others were badly hurt. The person responsible? Someone who knew them, someone they trusted. By the time deputies arrived, the once quiet street was lit with flashing blue and red lights. Neighbors stood outside their homes, holding one another, whispering in disbelief. This was not a random act. It was personal. And in just minutes, a family's life had changed forever. Before we uncover the details of this heartbreaking story, you're watching Wednesday Crime Gist. If you believe in telling the real stories behind the headlines, in remembering the people whose names deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the moments that matter most. It was a Friday night in Robinsonville, Mississippi, a small, unincorporated town in Tunica County. The area is known for its winding country roads, quiet neighborhoods, and a riverfront lined with casinos that draw the occasional tourist. But on this night, none of that mattered. At 7:06 p.m., the Tunica County Sheriff's Office received an urgent call from 1060 Soleil Drive. The caller reported that serious harm had occurred inside a home. The dispatcher's screen lit up with urgency as deputies raced toward the address. When they arrived, the neighborhood was eerily still, except for the commotion spilling out from one house. The front door was open. Inside, signs of a struggle were everywhere. Furniture was overturned. Items were scattered across the floor. In the center of it all was 30-year-old Nykeria Jude. She could not be saved. Nearby, her 6-year-old daughter, Malaysia, lay on the floor. She was still alive but in very serious condition, her small frame barely moving. Beside her was 24-year-old Marquavius Young, the adult son of the suspect from another relationship. He too was gravely injured and struggling to stay alert. Deputies immediately called for advanced medical support. Pafford EMS paramedics rushed in to assess their conditions. The situation was so urgent that air ambulances were requested right away. Malaysia was flown to Lubiner Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, one of the region's top pediatric trauma centers. Marquavius was taken to Regional One Health, also in Memphis, known for its critical care unit. Outside the house, neighbors stood frozen, some with tears in their eyes. One neighbor told WREG-TV they had seen flashing lights and heard sirens flood the street within minutes. Another said they had been inside when they heard what they thought were loud pops, only to realize something far more serious had happened. Law enforcement began securing the area. Officers went door to door, asking if anyone had seen the person responsible. But witnesses only confirmed one thing: the man had left the house immediately after the incident. His name was Jude Braxton, 41 years old, known in the neighborhood and more importantly known to his victims. Within minutes, the question on everyone's mind was the same: where was Jude Braxton? Nykeria Jude was born on December 5, 1995, in the heart of Tunica County, Mississippi. From the very beginning, her life was surrounded by family. She grew up in a home where relatives valued staying close, sharing meals, and looking out for one another. Her hometown of Robinsonville was small, the kind of place where neighbors waved when they passed by, and people knew each other's names. Nykeria was known for her warm smile and the way she made people feel welcome. Friends say she was the kind of person who could walk into a room of strangers and leave with new friends. She loved to laugh, and her laugh was the kind that made others laugh too, even if they didn't know what the joke was. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't chasing fame or big city dreams. She wanted something simple: a safe home, steady work, and people she could count on. She worked regular jobs in the community, staying true to her values and close to her roots. But the brightest part of Nykeria's life began when she became a mother. Her daughter, Malaysia, was her pride and joy. From the moment she arrived, everything Nykeria did seemed to center around her. She was there for the first steps, the first day of school, the bedtime stories. They took evening walks, made short videos on Malaysia's favorite apps, and celebrated every birthday with balloons, cake, and photos to remember the day. Family members recall how Nykeria would dress Malaysia up for special occasions, making sure her hair was neat and her smile was even brighter. They remember the nights when Malaysia would curl up next to her mother, falling asleep while Nykeria told her stories or sang softly to her. To those who loved her, Nykeria wasn't just a good mother, she was the kind of mother every child deserves. Loving, patient, and devoted to giving her little girl a safe and happy life. That is why what happened in July 2025 was so hard for her family and community to come to terms with. The trust she had placed in someone close to her would be broken in the most heartbreaking way. At some point in the years before 2015, Nykeria Jude met Jude Braxton. No one can say for certain how their paths first crossed, but people close to her recall there was an instant connection. Jude was older, confident, and, in the beginning, knew how to make someone feel valued. For Nykeria, those early days felt like the start of what she had been hoping for: shared laughter, late-night conversations, and the promise of building a future together. Before long, they welcomed their daughter Malaysia into their lives. For a time, the young family appeared happy. But as the years passed, that early warmth began to fade. Disagreements started to creep in, sometimes over small matters, sometimes for no clear reason. What began as ordinary arguments grew into signs of controlling behavior. Jealousy started to appear, and with it came more strain on their relationship. According to official records from the Tunica County Sheriff's Office, as reported by WREG News and WLBT, authorities responded to 7 separate calls involving disputes between Nykeria and Jude from 2015 to March 2025. The first was recorded in July 2015, only months after they began living together. The most recent was on March 10, 2025, less than 4 months before the events that would change everything. Each call was a signal, a sign that the tension was building and the same cycle was repeating. Family members say Nykeria tried to leave on more than one occasion. But a mix of hope, love, and fear kept pulling her back. Friends would later remember certain comments from Jude over the years, remarks that suggested his temper could be unpredictable. These moments didn't happen all at once. They built slowly, over time, creating an environment of uncertainty and emotional strain that few outside the home could fully understand. By July 2025, that strain had reached a point from which there was no return. By the time deputies had secured the scene, they already knew the name of the person they were searching for. Jude Braxton, 41 years old, was identified as the main suspect. The same man who had once shared a home and a child with Nykeria Jude was now being sought in connection with the tragic events that left one person gone and 2 others seriously hurt. Within hours, the Tunica County Sheriff's Office released his photo to the public. Flyers described him as a potential threat and included the exact address where the incident took place, 1060 Soleil Drive. The guidance was clear: do not approach and contact authorities immediately if seen. The media moved quickly. Local stations such as WREG News Channel 3 and Action News 5 broadcast his image during evening newscasts. Tip lines began receiving calls from residents offering any possible lead. Deputies believed he might still be nearby. Witnesses told investigators they saw him leave the house quickly right after the incident. Some reported hearing a vehicle start. Others thought he might have moved toward the wooded area behind the neighborhood. Search teams expanded their efforts. Officers walked nearby streets, checked vacant buildings, and moved through dense tree lines. Helicopters circled overhead, scanning the fields and wooded areas between Robinsonville's neighborhoods and the surrounding farmland. The search continued through the weekend with no confirmed sightings. Then, on the afternoon of Monday, July 14, 2025, the search came to a close. Deputies located a person in a wooded patch of land not far from the original scene, an area thick with trees and tall grass between Soleil Drive and a nearby golf course. Authorities confirmed it was Jude Braxton. The Tunica County Sheriff's Office later stated that he had died from an injury he caused to himself. The news left the community in shock. Some felt relief that the search had ended. Others were frustrated that he would never face trial or answer questions about what had happened. And one question remained for many: could this have been prevented? Against all odds, Nykeria Braxton, just 6 years old, made it through the ordeal. So did 24-year-old Nykeria Jude. Both had been taken into surgery in Memphis hospitals the night of the incident. Nykeria received care at Robinsonville Children's Hospital, a facility known for its specialized pediatric treatment. Nykeria was stabilized at Regional One Health, a center equipped for the most serious medical cases. 4 days, their loved ones waited outside hospital rooms, hoping for signs that they were getting better. When the time finally came for Nykeria to return home, her journey was something the entire community would remember. The Tunica County Sheriff's Office arranged a special procession. Law enforcement units from Shelby, DeSoto, and Coahoma counties joined in. Sirens sounded, not in fear but in honor, as the young girl was escorted back to her family. Neighbors stood along the road, waving, some holding signs. For a brief moment, there was no sound of sadness, only the steady hum of engines and the sense of a community uniting to support what remained of a family forever changed. Nykeria was placed in the care of her grandparents, Angela and Layan. They promised to give her the safety and stability she deserved. But the absence left behind could never be filled by even the strongest show of community support. In the days that followed, frustration began to grow. 7 documented calls for help over nearly a decade, yet no long-term protective measures had been put in place. Advocates for safer relationships pointed to Nykeria's story as a reminder of the urgent need for stronger intervention when warning signs appear. Her funeral took place in Tunica. The church was filled with her favorite colors, purple to symbolize awareness and white for the purity of the life that was lost. Family, friends, and neighbors spoke of her smile, her kindness, and her devotion to her daughter. Some shared how she could make anyone feel like family. Others simply embraced one another, overwhelmed by emotion. Nykeria Jude was more than a headline. She was a mother, a daughter, a human being. And what happened to her reminds us that silence in the face of pain can cost lives. Let's not wait until it's too late. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, real, honest stories that make people stop and think, then please, like this video. Leave a comment below. What do you think could have been done to prevent this? Subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories that matter. Your voice can make a difference. Your share could save a life. And your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay aware, and never ignore the signs.